Legate Lanius is one of the most iconic antagonists in the whole Fallout franchise. An absolute unit that towers over the player, the Monster of the East isn't just the tallest NPC in Fallout New Vegas. He's quite likely the fastest one too. Awaiting you in 3 out of the 4 endings as one of the strongest enemies, the Legion's Ace of Clubs' only hindrance is the Courier's plot armor. Passing skill checks of either 100 speech or barter turns the personification of the terrifying presence perk into a stressed office worker that's been so overworked he forgot that logistics were a thing. And this truly makes absolutely no sense in terms of Lanius' backstory, in my opinion. It's not lore, it's simply a role-playing mechanic that feels out of place but enables you to finish the game without engaging in combat if you so choose. It should also be noted that in the event of Kaiser succumbing to illness or to the Courier's actions, Lanius becomes the de facto leader of the Legion, the new Kaiser. One that does not strategically drive back, but rather brutally destroys anyone that dares the slightest bit of resistance. And even putting aside that the Legion will not backpedal on slavery either way, Kaiser's rule is deemed peaceful by the end credits, whereas Lanius is slaughterous and savage. To understand this, it's important to have a quick recap of how Lanius forcefully joined the Legion and how both him and Kaiser reacted to the whole ordeal. Before becoming the Legion's ace, Lanius was the Hydebark's champion, and a bloodthirsty one at that. Whenever the Hydebarks and the Legion clashed, Lanius is said to have defeated entire groups of Legionnaires by himself. But once the tide turned to the Legion's favor, the Hydebarks surrendered, as that was Kaiser's goal, to enslave and integrate them. Lanius, he went on a rampage, killing the tribe's chief and over a dozen of his own men, just for surrendering. So the Legion knocked Lanius unconscious, and when he woke, there was Kaiser, with a mask in one hand and a proposal in the other. Lanius accepted both gifts, and thus became Fallout's God of War, doing Kaiser's bidding as the personification of Mars. And so, can you eat Fallout New Vegas as Lanius? A tickle to the brain and a weird dream later, and the Courier not only believes to now be Lanius, but I will actually turn them into Lanius. First things first, we can actually check the wiki for his appearance. Caucasian, blue eyes, grey hair which I forgot to toggle, his eyebrow type, and blastback hairstyle. He apparently also has 2 facial hairs, but I can only toggle one, so I went with the one I preferred. Mutton stash over the daddy-o. As for his special stats, they are so overpowered that I'm not even sure if I'll be able to take any other perk other than intensive training ones. And that's just so I can come close to match his special. So the ones that I'm gonna go with are 8 in strength, 7 in perception and endurance, 6 in agility and luck, 5 in intelligence, and 1 charisma as a dump stat. To be clear, that's -1 for all of his stats except charisma, which has a staggering -6 in comparison. His tagged skills are also set. He is prolific in guns, melee, and unarmed. The traits though are completely up to us, and the ones that made the most sense to me were heavy-handed and skilled. Now, to turn the Courier into Lanius, I'll be using console commands to get the correct height and walking speed, but also Lanius' weapons and apparel. Player.set scale 1.15 means he's 115% taller than the Courier. Likewise, player.set AV speed mult 180 means he's 180% faster than the Courier. Funny enough, playing New Vegas on at least 150% walking speed is something I very much recommend. As for his weapons of choice, they are the Blade of the East, which requires a ridiculous strength 9 and melee 100 for it to truly shine. But also, a 9mm pistol, which he only uses if the Courier's completely unreachable. He also uses grenades, but I'm not gonna use explosives on this one. As for his armor, the game only drops the Legate helmet after you defeat him. Fortunately, there is a way to brute force the Legate armor to be equipped. And fun fact, his armor only has a 15 damage threshold resistance, meaning Centurion armor is better. That one has 18. Lanius also cannot be disarmed or reverse pickpocketed and has some specific resistances, but I will not be meddling with anything else. As for the run, it's a do as Lanius would, so without further ado, let's begin. I've taken all I wanted from Doc Mitchell's house, and my first stop is gonna be the schoolhouse. The mantises go down in one hit, but they are just that weak. By using a locksmithing magazine, I'm able to crack the safe open and get that sweet stealth boy. Right after that, I've looted the whole town, sold what I didn't need to chat, and got me a shovel. Some grave digging, and a couple souvenirs later, and Barthen Thorn nearly pisses himself upon sighting the terror of the East. His girl is trapped by geckos on the ridge, and he cannot get to her. He says she's going to die. Except there is no girl. It's a trap, and lying, that's for degenerates, so he becomes Lanius' first victim. And, no, I take that back. He becomes his own victim. I'm not a maniac. Notice how I didn't do anything to the folk in Goodsprings. As I'm playing baseball with the geckos, I get me some brock flour to mix with the xander root I picked up before, because healing powder is the Legion's easiest way to heal. Not that I'll be restricting myself to it. Imagine a Centurion saying they won't use a steam pack after finding a stash. Yeah, no, that would be beyond stupid. We get some loot, and I go on to craft some healing powder, cause our journey has just begun. I go into Gene skydiving, the first level up comes around, I put all the points into melee and use the first of many intensive training perks to get strength till Lanius' real stat, 9. I got another star cap, so the ones that I found in Goodsprings can have a buddy. Got the goodies from the lockers and made my way down to Prim.
Hey, where the hell do you think you're going? Prim is off limits.
An NCR trooper tries to order me around, so I do Kaiser a favor and put him down. It feels good to be back doing these challenges, man. The delay was because I wanted to finish Phantom Liberty and then Fallout London came out. Anyways, did I say I put the trooper down? I meant the whole camp. Sergeant McGee, Lieutenant Hayes, and the rest of them were put down like the useless dogs of war that they are. I'm now shunned by the NCR, which boohoo, and 2 escaped convicts then attacked me on sight. Not the smartest cookies. I don't really care about Deputy Beagle, but I made my way to Nash residence to get a couple of rubies casserole for the journey. As I'm heading south, a couple more convicts near the Nevada Highway Patrol Station make the extremely stupid decision of aggroing, and so did the jackals occupying the place, so they all got the Lanius treatment. I got me another star cap, not that I'll be doing that quest, they're just fun to collect. So, a couple mantises later, and I move on to the Rad Scorpions on Nipton's Road Rest Stop for yet another one. It's been a while since I visited these locations, and all the XP's welcome since the only quests I really care about on this one are Legion related. Level 3 came around, I dumped the points into melee again, and then came a horde of ants that had as much of a chance as the jackals that tried to ambush me right before Nipton. Seeing nightfall, I decide to rest until dawn, and Malcolm fucking Holmes has the audacity to interrupt my beauty sleep to tell me he's been stalking me. So I prevent him from ever doing that again. Couple hours later, and Jacqueline and Thomas are in the middle of a gunfight. Usually Thomas wins, but Jacqueline, she got the best of him this time. Soon as she wins, she goes over to his body to loot his star caps, whereas if he had won, he'd just be in shock. His journal has the whole story, and we have ourselves another liar. So, I give her a one-way ticket to the pearly gates. And can you guess who won the lottery? He did.
Who won the lottery? I did!
My man's on the first day of the rest of his life, and when the Legion gives, the Legate does not take it away. In the general store, we meet Boxcars. He got second prize, a pair of broken legs. He then starts demanding medics, which rubs me the wrong way. Thought about teaching him a lesson, but I'll respect Vulpes' lottery. Speaking of which...
Don't worry. I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates.
Damn right you won't. Anyways, he gives us our first meaningful quest. To spread word of what happened in Nipton to the NCR in the Mojave outpost. So I turn back and do exactly that. Sergeant Kilborn's in sheer disbelief. Not just because of the Legion's cohesion and effectiveness, but because he knows firsthand that the NCR is not in their best shape for the all-out war that will inevitably come. Anyways, I started hacking, whacking, and smacking, mostly slashing. In fact, I just found out that Butcher Pete's not the murderer I thought he was, but I'll let you find out by yourself. The NCR now hates me, which is fine since, you know, Lanius. No caravaneer or trooper left behind. Ranger Ghost actually became a ghost. I got vilified, level 4 came around, points into melee, and then I went for the second intense training perk. This time improving endurance, and if you thought I was done, I am not. There's half camp to go. Even the Brahmin don't get to breathe. I turned Major Knight into a minor peasant. Ranger Jackson was relieved of his duties. Lacey's a degenerate and an enabler. Cass has quick drinking, and the whole barracks got to see the monster of the East single-handedly take care of every single one of them. Also, look at my health. No worries though, I'll just take a quick nap in one of their bunk beds to replenish it. Back to Nipton and into the Viper's ambush. Just gonna get me that star cap first, and one of the big horners looked at me, and that was enough for him to charge the last Viper instead. I then passed through Wolfhorn Ranch and kept on going until we hit Camp Searchlight, where Aster kindly informs us that the whole town is irradiated to high hell. Oh, and I forgot to tell you about the Legate's armor. The one I could only equip using console commands is not faction armor, by the way. It's not coded that way, so yeah, that's why the NCR isn't shooting me on sight. Anyways, I've got bigger plans for Aster, so I thanked him for his advice and then promptly ignored it.
Look, I don't need your shit. Either get out of the way or things are gonna get rough.
Logan's got an attitude problem, and then he threatened me. Bad move, my man. Plenty of good loot, and a couple keys later, and the Gullified troopers back for an ass-kicking, to which I oblige. I got their dog tags, just like I've been getting every single one from the NCR, and you'll see why in a minute. A glowing one passed gas, level 5 came around to bless my melee even more, and I went on to visit the other church's basement. I've got radiation poisoning, I'll have golden gecko for dinner, and I'll take the 2 mini nukes as memorabilia. Thank you very much. In the fire station, 2 hits were enough to deal with the rat scorpion queen. I tried exploring a bit more, but this microwave of a town was becoming ridiculous. Couple other ghouls later, and level 6 came around as well. And melee 100 means the Blade of the East is now at full force. I dumped the rest of the points into guns, and I used the intense training perk number 3 to get luck to where it should be. And down the road we find Anders.
Please, help me.
Nope. Degenerates like you belong on a cross, cause Skirt Baldy said so, and I'm a loyal second in command. Sorry, dude. Now, to Cottonwood Cove.
Very well, you may proceed. However, be warned. Aggressive acts against us will earn you a place on a cross.
Chill, man, look at the fit. We're buddies. And to Aurelia's, I go. He informs me that the killing of profligates should never go unrewarded, which means every single dog tag will not only yield me 10 cups, but also Legion fame. However, I remember reading somewhere a while ago that you should deliver the tags one by one because the reputation bonus won't stack, so correct me if I'm wrong, since that's the way I'm gonna do it. A lot of clicking on the left mouse button later, and I'm now accepted by the Legion. I've also paid the Weathers a visit, cause they have one of my favorite voice lines in the whole game.
When will we be free?
Say it again.
When will we be free?
It's just so unexpected and burdening to the soul to hear that. The writers knew exactly what they were doing, and the voice actor did an amazing job. Still though, they're not getting out, not on this one. Back to First Sergeant Aster, and we can tell him we found a Legion camp really close to Searchlight. He then tasks us with stealing intel on their troops' movements and bugging their radio, so obviously, I go back to Aurelia's.
The things the profligates will build to spy on us like cowards with little machines.
I let him know, give him the bug so he can manipulate the NCR, and he hands me some old intel that they'll use to ambush the NCR later. Back to Aster once again, and just listen to what he has to say.
This is more than I could have hoped for. It almost seems too good to be true, but the details are all here.
Yeah, you know what they say, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. But, quest completed, thank you for the XP. I even sold him the irradiated dog tags, cause Aurelius didn't want those. I checked. And, yeah, I want these fellas dog tags too, so I completely annihilated them all by myself. Just like Lanius is known for doing. I then made my way to the sniper's nest, cause it was really close to the Legion's supply cache, although, for some reason during this whole run, that quest will never trigger. Which is odd, but it's also meaningless, so no one cares. Oh, and before going into Novac, I went back to Doc Mitchell cause I'm pretty sure I was glowing from the radiation poisoning. The good doctor patched me up, I traded with him to get some extra steam packs for the road, sold some more useless junk to chat, and took a nap in the BB gun house to heal my HP. Back to Searchlight and on my way to Novac when NCR trooper attacks me on sight. And then a random recruit Decanus praises me. Oh, and then NCR Ranger Squad intercepts me to give me a bold warning.
You've got 3 days to improve your reputation with the NCR or we come for you.
To which I replied, we finished this now.
Crap. You don't even want to live a few more days? Go. Get laid one more time or something. We're walking away. 3 days.
So yeah, I really had to insist. Don't know why they positioned themselves like a vertical Connect 4, but it made it extremely easy for me to connect all the pokey with all 4. Down the road and right before Novac, a couple Vipers tried their luck too, but they didn't have any. Level 7 came around, I distributed the points between guns and unarmed, and then I finally reached Novac. Victor said hi, I sold a couple stuff to Cliff Briscoe and went on to pay Ranger Andy a visit. I parted him not only from his leg, but from his magazine as well, and the whole town's now pissed at me. So I scolded Boone for ruining a perfectly good slave. The man shot his wife in the head knowing he wouldn't be able to rescue her from the Legion. Well, and she was pregnant too, so yeah, double kill. Manny then tried to be a hero. Daisy was actually the sturdiest NPC that aggroed, and I'm now shunned. By the way, not everyone aggroed. Jeannie Mae, for example, simply welcomed me to relax a spell. I thanked her for both her hospitality and sending Boone's wife to the Legion's way. And then I visited the McBrides, cause I left their unmarked quest. Long story short, Novac tells a story about a chupacabra with a submachine gun, cause these couples been having their cattle die one by one. Lo and behold, there is a Nightkin with a minigun. Not gonna lie, I was expecting more than 9 experience points, but it is what it is. Dusty throws some caps our way for unveiling the mystery and dealing with the Nightkin and offers us a couple caps, and I quote, "Help yourself to anything in that freezer over yonder. We got more steaks in there than we'd be able to eat in a year." However, they've got 10 steaks on a refrigerator. Seriously, the more I think about Novac, the more I understand Novac, man. Now, to Nelson. Ranger Milo tells us the area is locked down by the NCR military, and I tell him my name's Lanius.
Is that so? Can't say I've ever heard a good word about you. Lots of bad ones, though.
So I showed him he can have his own story be passed on into others as well. Got their dog tags and headed down the road, where a Legion explorer introduces us to his Decanus, Dead Sea. He goes on to say that his orders are to simply hold Nelson, and when we call it a stalemate, he has an awesome challenge for us.
If you're so eager to see Camp Forlorn Hope fall, why don't you go attack it all by yourself?
Say less, I'm on my way. In Camp Forlorn Hope, I am quite glad to find that most troopers have not only one dog tag, but 2. Okay. I then turned Private Stone into Public Dust, Quartermaster Ma Yes into Ma No, and found out their shed with loot was only good for getting a couple steam packs. In the medical tent, Dr. Richards was no more, and in the command center, Palatli and Reyes met the same demise as everyone else in Forlorn Hope. Dead Sea was so proud of our success that he gifted us his blade, the Liberator. So, with another quest completed, we reach level 8, and I put the points into medicine cause I like my healing items to not feel abhorrently useless. As for the next intensive training perk, I went with Agility. Then I went back to Cottonwood Cove to give the dog tags to Aurelius, and we're now liked by the Legion. On my way to Boulder City, I took care of the Vipers that have a grenade launcher, except with Lanius' speed, they didn't dare use it by the time that I was in their faces. And when I tried to rest in the Eldorado Gazan service, I was unable to because another NCR Ranger squad was sent after me. Wasn't expecting another one so soon, but hey, I took care of all of them before they knew what hit them. In Boulder City, we find Private Kowalski, who asked us if we're here to pay our respects. No.
What the fuck are you doing? My brother died at the Battle of Hoover Dam. You're desecrating a war memorial.
Oh, you're a little bitch, and your brother was too. Next up, we have Lieutenant Monroe. He's got a little situation with the cons that Benny hired, so I'll fix that for him. If there's no NCR, there is no situation. I know, it's a genius strategic move that even Sun Tzu would be baffled with.
What the hell? You're that courier Benny wasted back in Goodsprings. You're supposed to be dead.
Yeah, well, I got better. Anyways, a couple cons mean nothing to the Legion as things stand, so I'll let these idiots leave. Jessup goes on about how Benny betrayed them, gives us his lighter as a souvenir. Level 9 came about, and I once again put the points into Madison. Since we're done here, I give the NCR hostages the option to rendezvous with their colleagues in the afterlife, and that's when all of the cons over here aggro on me. I guess the engine had those two marked as cons until they left the area or something? Anyways, right about when the cons were about to be all eliminated, I fought one of them just as he was entering the building, which put me sky high but nowhere near as Bethesda's expectations for Starfield's copy-pasted planet outposts. Though I still had to use God mode to smoothen the fall and not become a pancake. And that's how I went from accepted to mixed reputation with the cons, which is as meaningless as it was lovely. Time for the next bit of our journey as we make our way to the Strip. I passed through the 188 and this route is extremely safe. As I was about to meet the Gunrunner's Vendortron to sell some stuff I didn't need, I decided to wait to make it daytime for better lighting. And 3 cons interrupt me by teleporting to me. Is it like the NCR Ranger Squad? Nope. They are not aggroing. Is this a bugged encounter? I don't know. So I wait the rest of the hours and a powder ganger shows up to tell me that while I'm not exactly a friend, I've helped them nonetheless. Maybe that's because I took care of the NCR in Prim and or in the Mojave outpost? You tell me. And at this point I'm thinking, is anyone else coming? And yes, there is. Victor. He fast traveled too, just so he could have the interaction that should have happened in Boulder City. Unfortunately, that's it. So yeah, Vendortron, junk for caps, and to Freeside I go. Couple thugs had the bright idea of trying to mug me, so I repay the town's etiquette by purposefully going into the other ambush, cause why not? Approaching the Strip, old Ben warns us about the Securitron 2000 cap check. I've got like 4,700, so we're golden.
Howdy, partner.
Not now, Victor.
I've been in love with the same woman for 17 years. If my wife ever finds out, she'll kill me. No!
Billy. Anyways, I grabbed all the free magazines and made my way into the tops, where I told Swank all about Benny's plan. He tells me to check Benny's room to see if we can find something incriminating to tell Mr. House. And yeah, there's a whole Securitron that cannot say no. Now, I could have Swank send Benny back to his room and give him a swift death, but degenerates like him belong on a cross. So instead, I just go and meet the big man, agree to wait for yet another ambush, except this time, it's in a presidential suite. But before they arrive, the quest is completed, and that grants us level 10. I keep putting the points into medicine and get yet another intense training perk. This time to get Lanius' actual intelligence stat. Benny's bodyguards were no match for the monster of the East. An in-game achievement lets me know that I've inflicted 10,000 melee damage until now. Nice. And Benny, he has fled the Strip. Upon leaving the tops, an NCR trooper tells us Ambassador Crocker would like to play a hand of Caravan, but I tell him no thanks. That and Vulpes doesn't like to bring his furry suit to Mr. House's territory for some reason. Kaisar has finally summoned us to Fortification Hill. I tell Lucullus to start rowing, and that's when I remember that I had forgotten to toggle God mode off. from the Khan's encounter. Good thing that it only affected Benny's bodyguards, because I was enjoying this too much to feel like reloading a previous save from hours ago. Anyways, yeah, Otho, Arena. I won't be able to use my weapon of choice, but when in Rome, do as the Romans do. The first battle is a 2-on-1 against 2 slaves with machetes. It was as easy as it sounds, and it coincided with getting the Lord Death perk. I'll take it. Otho then plays the feet down as if he wasn't the one to book it, and it's time for battle number 2. Sergeant Andrews has apparently survived a round already against someone else, but this time, and with 4 consecutive hits on VOTS, he lost his head. For the last fight, Otho says it's gonna be against an NCR ranger that has took down even one of the Kenturians using only her bare hands. The only hard thing about this one is having the patience to time the melee combat, since Miss Stella was only blocking my machete using her forearms. That's silly.
Unbelievable. You stood against a ranger in single combat and survived.
Yes, Otho, I did. She had no armor and no weapons. Don't you dare call that elite Kenturian either elite or Kenturian ever again. He was a disgrace and nothing more. Going around the camp, we find Siri, a slave that's in charge of crafting healing powder for the army. And by passing a 20 survival skill check, we can let her know that she's got the recipe wrong and could have a better output by using 1 Brock flower with a Xander root instead of 2 roots per flower. You're telling me Kaiser managed to establish the Legion in Colorado, conquer who knows how many tribes, and somehow not a single dummy knew the recipe? Okay. But yeah, time to go and meet our boss for this one.
So, I finally get to meet the courier who's caused so much trouble for the new California Republic.
You're welcome! He then goes on to tell us that it's his lifelong dream to feel the ground shake. Oh, and that he's got a present for me. If I destroy whatever's in the bunker that the platinum chip would unlock, I get to choose Benny's fate.
Go ahead and laugh, baby. I ain't blind to the humor in this situation.
Before leaving the tent, we can get a quest from Vulpez and another one from Lucius. Vulpez will have us go to Vault 21 gift shop to meet with a Martina Grosbeck who's been an informant for the Legion. She thinks she's one for the NCR, but we'll get there when we get there. Lucius tells us that the Legion has recently acquired an artillery weapon, but that it's broken. So I'll have to steal some parts from the boomers to get it up to shape and working again. Also, by passing a 50 unarmed skill check, he will teach us a unique unarmed move. I won't be needing it, but it would be hard to imagine Lanius not knowing it, so I took him upon his offer. Most importantly, and since I've been in the Legion's good side for a while, by speaking with him again, he'll give us a key to the Legion safe house, which is the game's best way of getting plenty of stealth boys.
I can't talk to you. It's not allowed.
If it's not allowed, then shut up, Melody. And by the bunker, one of the Legionnaires only cared about his gains, and in the bunker, Mr. House has an attitude, cause he hasn't invited anyone over in 2,000 years and we turned down his offer. My dude, if you want company, just open the place up. We ain't buddies, and your platinum chip got me a bullet to the head from one of your subordinates, and you didn't even bother having the Securitrons give me free passage. And I know, he knows, that Victor's his bitch. Anyways, the Protectrons were going down in 1 hit and the laser turrets in 2. The generators, though, are completely immune to melee attacks, so I used one of the 9mm pistols I looted and repaired to destroy them.
I felt the ground shake a while ago.
Wish granted, level 11 came around, points to medicine yet again, and as promised, I get to choose Benny's fate.
Don't do that, baby, not crucifixion. I could be up there for days with those twisted creeps laughing and pointing.
Yes, what you get for shooting me in the head. Kaiser then tasked me with taking care of Mr. House, and before I leave the fort, I pay Benny a visit in his new suite.
Happy now, you twisted bum?
Yep. Also, you got much of a better view than I did back in that grave, so shut up. Another thing I wanted to do before the next bit was to visit the Legion safe house. There's a couple goodies inside, including Kenturian armor, which for some reason is better than Lanius. Oh well. Reason I'm here is to wait for Atticus to show up. Once we meet, he gives me the option of choosing some of the stuff that he gathered on his travels. Magazines, cat eye, a couple stealth boys, etc. But yeah, this is just to show you that you can get extra stealth boys over here. Now, to the strip, and as you can imagine, Mr. House is not pleased. I got to the Lucky 38 without the Securitrons being an issue, but once inside, all of them are aggroed. Couple hits on each is enough to take care of them, and then I just had to use the Platinum chip to access Mr. House's control room. Why? Because I'm Lanius. I then went on to the Ultralux to meet and greet Mortimer and Marjorie, since that's probably enough for us to dismiss them when Kaiser asks us to try and convince them to join the Legion's cause. I'd rather not have cannibals by my side during war times. Imagine if they get hungry or something. Ugh. In the gift shop, I managed to rescue Martina from the 3 Omerta thugs, and that's when she lets out that she's being an informant to one Captain Curtis over at Camp McCarran. Oh, and that she would never work with slavers. We'll check on the captain a little later on. On the way to get to the artillery parts, a couple raw hamburgers forgot they were supposed to be grass-fed. And then came George, the boomer that's not really part of the boomers. He wanted to make a bet, and I told him I'm not Vulpes. I don't do lotteries or play chance-based games. I also blame him for being so forgetful that sometimes I bet with him and then forget to come back to get my money. Oh, and like I stated in the beginning of the video, and as you've seen, we're going with Lanius levels of speed. The way to the boomers was a breeze. We weren't hit once. And by the gate, Raquel tells us that their elder, Mother Pearl, wishes to meet us.
I've been waiting a good 5 years for an outsider to come along and visit.
She says, as her front lawn is filled with the remains of the poor bastards that thrive. What a psycho! In Denelli's workshop, we can just steal the howitzer firing mechanism that Lanius requires, and since I'm here, might as well take care of the boomers. Kaiser will ask us to get their allegiance soon, but unlike the White Glove Society, which he will scold us for, he does not care in the slightest if we simply destroy these guys. In the hangar, pay close attention to Jack. As soon as I attack Loyal, he'll be nowhere to be seen. Do you think he fled cause Holy Mother of Mars, it's Lanius? Nope. Dude's just hanging out in the middle of the hangar, completely oblivious that he's about to join Loyal. I then go back to Mother Pearl to tell her that what I like is fireworks, not artillery shells coming down my way. Oh, and Raquel got a little tap to the forehead too. I then went back to the Vendortron to sell some more stuff that I didn't need, which means I'm now the proud owner of 8,500 caps that I don't know what to do with. And before going back to the fort, let's go and pay a visit to Captain Curtis, see if there's anything we can help out with. Which, yeah. There is, otherwise I wouldn't be here, so to trigger the quest, I went on to meet Colonel James Shue, exhausted his dialogue, which reminded me that one of the lieutenants has been tasked with interrogating a Legion hostage. And I cannot for the life of me get that quest to trigger, so I put my ambitions on hold and went on to wink at Captain Curtis that we know his little secret.
Christ, keep it down. You want to blow the whole thing? We've worked years for this.
So here's the thing, the Colonel knows there's a spy. Curtis has a target for us to turn into a scapegoat. And we can also turn the monorail into our own out-of-season 4th of July celebration while doing all this. It's a win-win-win. In one of the trash cans, we've got the fake evidence we'll have to plant on Crenshaw's footlocker. Ought to put Crenshaw down too, so, you know, he won't defend himself in arguments. So I planted the evidence, took care of him, and I had to use the console to remove my armor. Cause not only does it not show on the Pip-Boy, there's also no way of removing it or equipping anything else while wearing it. I then used the NCR faction armor that Curtis gave me, so I can get close to the monorail, planted the explosive charge, and enjoy the show, boys! I then had to use the commands to re-equip the Legate's armor, went back to the Colonel, and told him that Crenshaw's a maniac. Curtis is on the clear, we're now idolized by the Legion, and level 12 came around. I kept putting points into medicine, used the intensive training perk to get perception up, and now I still cannot find a way to trigger the other quest. I found out that he's bugged, in an interesting way. By helping the NCR, he thinks one of the rewards he gave me was 100 caps. Well, You can spam that option for infinite 100% caps just by repeating his dialogue. There's also someone else in this building that if you do the request has the same infinite bug but for experience. So if you're in console, hey, it's not console commands, but it's better than nothing. Back to Lieutenant Boyd, because at this point I was under the assumption that if I did her NCR quest, maybe she would trust me to help her with the interrogation and thus help the Legion guy escape. So let's try that. Basically, Corporal White has disappeared. We find his journal by his bed, we track down his Camorra professional of choice. She says he was investigating a water shortage on the sharecropper farms. Once there, Lieutenant Romanovsky dismisses it completely and that idiot went on to Westside by himself to investigate, without even reporting it to his superiors. And then comes an interesting dilemma, because Anderson killed him. Now, Anderson is a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse. He regrets it, and all he wanted was to, share the NCR's water supply with the people in and around Westside. You know who else used to be a member of the Followers of the Apocalypse and thought that the ends justified the means? Edward Sallow. You might know him better by his title, Kaiser. Anyways, I tell Anderson I don't care about an NCR random. Lieutenant Boyd still won't give me the quest, so I kill her and start going after the whole building until Curtis. He attacks me, right? I mean, he could have at least pretended he had to go to the bathroom or something, but at the same time, maybe I could given him a heads up first. The only good thing that came out of this was that dealing with the NCR heavy troopers was not as hard as I thought it would be. Cause let me tell you, up until this point I was somewhat worried about the ending cause I really don't want to use chems for the last fight. I won't. So yeah, at this moment I knew I had a chance, and I just left Camp McCarran cause I didn't want to kill Curtis and the whole situation felt stupid enough. Funny enough, and for some reason this got me vilified by the NCR. Again. Back in the fort, I repaired the Legion's howitzer and reported back to Lucius, Vulpes, and Kaiser.
I've read Mr. House's obituary. Had a high opinion of himself, didn't he?
Indeed, he did. He then asked me to try and forge an alliance with the Boomers, but oopsie, they're gone.
Is that right? You are good, aren't you?
He then wants us to forge an alliance with the White Glove Society, but nah, I don't want or need the cannibals on my side, and then... He's having a massive headache. We pass a 40 medicine skill check. He decides to lie down and tells us to come back tomorrow, and if you ignore his last request, he will tell the Legion to kill you immediately, by the way. The next day, he is disappointed because he won't be able to eat iguana on a stick.
You've been resourceful in the past. Why are you a failure now?
Our next task, to destroy the Brotherhood of Steel. He also derps a bit. Another medicine skill check goes by and we conclude that he's been having absent seizures. He goes on to rest some more and I go back to the 188 so Veronica can open up the bunker for us. On the way to Sloan though, and for some reason the powder gangers attacked me on sight. They were praising me not that long ago. And both that and this happened completely out of the blue. I did nothing. Nothing. In Sloan, and because of my reputation with the NCR, Chomps and the other quarry workers attack me on sight, so I take care of them. And as I was looking around the place to see if anyone else was around, I remember Snuffles. No! Veronica, that was not necessary. I'll avenge Snuffles in a bit.
I'd like a large atomic shake and a double Brahmin burger. And easy on the agave sauce this time.
Veronica got Ramos to open up the doors and then it began. Ramos got bonked and so did Veronica. Down the stairs and waiting near their beds for them to come to me one-on-one instead of being in the open as their turrets fired at me was a perfect choice. Cause yeah, those turrets, they're way too bulky, so I just ignored them, took care of the others and went to the second level. Ibsen and his scribes weren't really posing a threat, but Lorenzo and his buddies. With those I couldn't stop laughing. Some of them were just stoically staring at their tables. Thanks, I guess. I also finished the other two in the next room and went on to the final four. Two randos, McNamara and Harden. It was easy. Yeah, sorry, not sorry. Back to Kaiser, he's pleased, invites us for a private chat. Level 14 comes around, and I use the perk to up my charisma. Kaiser only now opens up about his issues and how both the headaches and him blanking out are becoming more and more frequent. Now, most importantly, I don't think Lanius has the slightest interest in usurping Kaiser as the leader of the Legion, so that's out of the equation. And originally, I thought it would be funny to sell Arcade to the Legion, but I don't really need to make the detour when I have Medicine 100, so yeah. And we're now tasked with performing surgery to remove Kaiser's brain tumor from his beautiful bald head. Or, in other words, with getting a doctor's bag, which I have already, and to buy a set of surgical tools from the New Vegas Medical Clinic for 1,000 caps, so that's what I did. And upon getting back...
Kaiser sleeps, but doesn't awaken. I fear it is only a matter of days before death claims him.
Lucius tells us that we'll answer to him while Sleeping Beauty is dreaming safe and sound. The surgery takes but half a second and Kaiser gets up immediately. Our next task is to rendezvous with Cato Hostilius and to kill the president of the NCR, Kimball.
Now Kimball is scheduled to give his speech tomorrow. We'll rest here tonight and talk over the plan first thing in the morning.
Cato says that, but all he does is ask me if I have a plan, which of course I do. I'll just berserk it. I'll also have to remove my armor using console commands once again, cause if I get close to the NCR without wearing their faction armor, Kimball won't even arrive.
Good timing. Looks like his vertibird is arriving early.
Once he starts coming down the stairs and I make a move, he will try to flee. So I just gotta manage to VATS him, but that's the easy part. Oh, and we're now in combat, and the NCR armor I have sucked. So I gave the Centurion armor a go. Not because it would make a difference versus the Lanius one, just because it counts as faction armor. They think they aggroed because I took down Kimball, and sure, true, I did, but I want them to see that knowing that not only did they let a Legion member infiltrate, they also got completely and utterly annihilated on a one-man gig. That, and to ponder on what kind of a speech would actually signal a worthy morale boost when half, if not all of their camps are either understaffed, with insufficient resources, or both. Rangers Grants and Stevens kinda should have helped their buddies a bit more instead of standing around like two goofballs, but that's their problem. Level 15 came around, I put the points into guns and went to Mick and Ralph's to repair both my blade and my helmet. I then re-equipped Lanius' armor and went back to the fort.
You dispatched President Kimball with real skill. Right under their noses, too. What a humiliation.
And here comes Kaiser's final task. Do what the Burn Man, Joshua Graham, couldn't. Take over Hoover Dam. Fun fact for ya, Lanius is the only Legion member that does not refrain from mentioning Joshua Graham by his name. Which, considering that Kaiser banned everyone from doing so, leads to an interesting question. Do you reckon that's pure insubordination or both disrespect and disgust towards the legend that he remembers as a failure, and not wanting to fit the myth that to him never was?
You are the courier Lord Kaiser has spoken of. The slaughter begins then.
Indeed it does, Steptwin.
Find the enemy commander, this General Oliver. Kill him or his resolve. Do this and his cowards will retreat, leaving the dam to us.
And this is something that nowadays we just take for granted, but I love how New Vegas structured the NCR/House/Yasman endings versus the Legion one. Lanius gives you the order. You see the other Legionnaires go into battle. You engage with the NCR from the opposite side of where you'd be in the other endings, but most importantly, it gives you a false sense of security. To me, this one has always felt like the most challenging ending. Those NCR heavy troopers put the Centurions to shame, and by the time you're fighting them, there's no Securitron or whatever by your side, unless you bring a companion, I'd assume, but yeah. You just melt through the NCR while going through the dam before going into the other side of the dam. Adecanes warns you about the snipers, tells you that you can take them down, and about the reinforcements that the Legion has in Hoover Dam's tunnels, giving you extra reinforcements over the next bit as well. So, obviously, that's what we do. The snipers never even saw it coming, and the Centurions add to our numbers. I keep melting NCR Rangers. Level 16 came around, I put yet another perk into Charisma just to get closer to Lanius' builds, and in the Visitor Center, 3 NCR heavy troopers did not stand a chance against the Blade of the East. And it's knockback, cause the first was knocked back, the second staggered, and then like in the ending fight, all 3 of them kinda felt like a one-on-one. Then we take the elevator to Hoover Dam's power plant number 1. Over here, the Legion and the NCR are both fighting each other, and aside from the first couple troopers that come our way, you can pretty much run towards the end, knowing everyone's busy fighting each other. And the following 3 rooms are but a copy of the first, except you don't even have to come down a set of stairs. Just walking in a straight line will do. But with a build like this, I can't but wanting to help my fellows mow down the rangers that cross my way. An NCR heavy trooper awaits right before Oliver's compound, where he's being a little camper, waiting for reinforcements, as the tin cans that should be helping the front line were instead stationed for the protection of a guy that wouldn't be nearly as useful in battle as they would. In true General Lee Oliver fashion, he cannot but realize that his arrogance is everything that symbolizes the NCR's trials and tribulations. In the compound, the first area has nothing but a couple troopers and a maze-like furnishing to stall the inevitable. Up the stairs is where the challenge is amped. If you're too hasty, the traps will get ya. And if they don't, the rangers just might. But with a bit of patience, it's as doable as everything else. Go up the last row of stairs and it's on. If you go head on, you'll have to face the general and nearly all of the heavy troopers that were in the room he was in. So I went through one of the corridors, started picking on the isolated heavy troopers. As soon as I was on a 3-on-1 disadvantage, I went into the room they were in. The general had no line of sight to hit me, I took care of the heavy trooper, and then it was a matter of going berserk yet again. In a way that would not only make Lanius proud, but Kentaro Miura as well. So, can you beat Fallout New Vegas as Legate Lanius? Of course you can. The real question is, should you try it? And my answer is a resounding yes. Look, if nothing else, a run where you're taller and faster is interesting by itself. But to be able to use unique endgame gear from start to finish instead of simply for a couple minutes is always a new experience, and in this case, it could be a nice way for you to try a harder difficulty setting, if you haven't already. And that's it. I'd like to give a big shout out to Steve Whittle and to John Walker for their support of the channel, and to you. And if you'd like to help me out some more, just check the channel and watch another video. So, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, I hope I'll see you on the next one, and I hope you have a good one. Bye.
Know that your efforts are appreciated and will not go unrewarded, but we can speak of that later. For now, come, we must see to the burning of the dead.
And so the courier who had cheated death in the cemetery outside Goodsprings cheated death once again. Because war never changes.